All right, everybody, how we doing? Excellent. Glad to hear it. Max, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you caught us in the middle of messing
No, we got
around.
some B-roll stuff for Patreon's behind the scenes stuff we were recording before we actually started here, but let's move on.
Let's move on. All right, so Last of Us, episode 6, Kin.
Kin.
That's the name, Kin. Before we get rolling, thank you so much to really everybody so far in the community, kind of sending us some messages, giving us some feedback, pointing out stuff that we're missing. The community is growing, so we want to say thank you to everybody. We appreciate it. Please spread the word. Let's spread it like some fungus, like a virus.
I like that.
Okay, I'm glad you did. I don't know if I did.
You know, I'm a fungus guy, so
we know it's getting a little weird. We know. All right. Thanks again to our Patreon producer, Knight Rider 169. He's got all of February, so keep going, Knight Rider. We appreciate it. So let's just jump in this episode. So I appreciate this episode a lot. I think it's a lot of character building. My Ellie meter's going up.
That's
like
for
it.
Wednesday.
It's for Wednesday, but
slow down.
I like this episode. It definitely takes some turns from the video game, that's also for Wednesday. We'll go for that as well. But let's do the play-by-play. Let's just go through it. So we start off 3 months later.
3 months later.
I know that Max was super excited about that.
No, I was not. But for a TV show, I thought they could have filled that gap. Not to talk about like a Wednesday episode where they do the similar thing in the game, but they could have gave us some fill in there.
When you said that, I kept thinking to myself, like, we got an entire episode of a made up, basically an added character in Frank, because he's not in the game really. We got a whole episode.
In the game?
We got a whole episode dedicated to Frank and their relationship, and then we got another episode where they made another character named Kathleen just to give some backstory.
And how
a little
good
bit more.
were all those episodes? They could have gave me something in between those 3 months.
Give me some soft opens. Give me some soft opens. Give me something to that. I miss my soft opens. I can't get over. I'm really bummed that they didn't go with the whole, we're gonna do a soft open with every single episode.
Yeah, they could have had something with Tommy, because this episode's big thing is Tommy, right?
Yeah, but
they had the opportunity.
I was really anticipating a flashback of like just kind of how the relationship was, during like when the apocalypse kind of happened, and then like with Tess, because obviously he knew Tess, and I wanted to see
how they broke away, right?
Yeah,
for him to be such a jerk about Jackson. We'll get into that, but
I wanted to see that was kind of a bummer. But overall good episode. I liked it. So
really good. This show is firing on all cylinders. I like this episode. Like you said,
how many cylinders do you think this show has?
The fact that there's a lot of dialogue in this episode and a lot of character building, but they still have some action in there. They're really balancing that very well in the show.
Yeah.
Kind of like the game does, right? But, without talking about the game, because a lot of people don't play the game, they just watch the show.
There's not a lot of action in this episode.
Enough. There was enough.
Enough,
a little suspense.
Small action.
We'll call it for suspense and monkeys.
Some action, real stupid move at the end. But anyways, let's just go for it. All right, so 3 months later, we get an episode, or we get our first scene starts in a cabin in the woods, which is kind of awesome. And what's the actor's name who plays him?
Who plays who? The Native American?
Yeah, he's in everything.
He is in everything. His wife was, so that's Graham Greene, who's playing Marlon, and his wife is Elaine Miles playing Florence. I thought that was a great.
I like that scene.
It was funny. They've been together for a long time, so the way they interact is like gold. When he walks in, she's like looking, trying to give him a hint, and he just is like, ho hum, whatever.
Right.
And their interaction with Ellie was really good too, especially
little psycho
Marlon. Yeah, Graham Greene plays a lot of Native American roles, and he does them, so well. So
what's his name in the show?
Marlon.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Marlon walks in the cabin, gets a look from his wife, trying to eye him over into the corner, like, hey, there's a guy in there, kind of holding her hostage, but not really, because she's making him soup.
Yep.
And they do make, I think they make a statement in the cabin that they were there before the apocalypse. Like they already didn't like people anyway, so they were already kind of hanging out there and stuff. Joel's asking, they don't know, or Joel and Ellie don't know where they are. So they're really at this cabin to try to figure out, to get their bearings.
Yeah, they're lost in the woods.
Yeah, and so Joel's already gotten some information from the wife, and so now he's trying to, like, you know, make sure she's not lying.
Yeah, reconfirming.
And then reconfirming with the husband. And sure enough, they find out where they're at. They find out that they got to cross a bloody river. I guess the River
of Death. Yeah.
River of Death. And so the couple tells Ellie and Joel that there's a bunch of bodies they keep finding on the river that's coming from upriver.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, some are infected, some are just, you know, regular people. So they're kind of warning them not to go that way. Ellie, who now has no fear, is just kind of like, they can't scare us.
Yeah.
Joel gives the impression that he is scared. But that's pretty much that in that scene. It's the banter in there is really fun. We enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, Ellie doesn't know any better. She doesn't know what's out there.
Yep.
Joel does. Because Joel knows he was one of ththose guys that was out there.
Yep.
So.
Yep. All right. So then as they leave the cabin, Ellie decides to steal a rabbit.
Yeah.
Just kind of a nice little sign of she doesn't care. But she does leave one.
That was a nice touch.
He did have 2 rabbits. She takes one. So as they're leaving the cabin, it looks like Joel has his first panic attack.
Yep.
You kind of get the feeling that maybe he might be having like a slight heart attack, but no, it's a panic attack.
He's in his 50s.
Yeah. This is different from the game as far as I remember. I don't remember Joel having any panic attacks, but we'll talk about that on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So they proceed on their adventure. They decide to camp out in a cave, and now this is where we find out that Ellie wants to not only be an astronaut, which is kind of exciting. But then she also kind of does want to save the world. And she tells Joel that she knew that Sam was infected and that she tried to use her blood to save Sam. So she's been holding on to this information that you pointed out
conveniently for like 3 months.
Yeah.
With somebody you're seeing every day. Well,
Joel's not.
That's television. I let it slide. It's television.
Joel doesn't seem like the most approachable person. And then maybe Ellie was kind of dealing with some stuff in her head that she wasn't ready to share with Joel.
3 months is a long time, bro. But I'll let it slide.
All right. So I thought that was a nice scene. I think we'll probably
don't forget Joel said what he wanted to do. That was a running gag in the episode. He wants to be a sheep farmer.
Did we find that out in the cave?
Yeah, that's how she asked him first.
That's right.
Like, what do you want to do?
Right,
and then he not reluctantly, but he kind of then goes and asks her, okay, what about you? To, reciprocate the question. And that's when she gives him the space answer.
The space answer.
Yeah.
All right. So Joel says he'll take first and second watch. Joel passes out.
He doesn't pass out. He just falls asleep.
He falls asleep
and
has nightmares. And I guess this is the first of, we're seeing Joel dealing with something internally with the panic attacks and also with the dreaming. I guess he's already been talking in his sleep for a little bit. So he kind of has these dreams. And you find out later in the episode that he knows he's having these nightmares, but he's not really sure what they are because he doesn't really remember them. But anyway, so Ellie, she decided to take second watch because Joel was asleep. She's trying to figure out if Joel's ever going to teach her how to hunt.
But she demonstrates that she has been paying attention to Joel's teachings on how to keep watch.
That's right.
So she does a good job at that. So
that's right. All right. So now they're approaching the river
of death.
The River of Death. We think it's the River of Death. Joel decides to fire his gun in the air, which I'm really not too sure why he does this.
I'm telling you, it's to see if any movement, occurs. It's kind of like that's what I'm assuming. You shoot and see if there's any movement, because, you'll see birds fly away or maybe infected will move. Or if there's people, who's kind of camping out might get startled and start ruffling a bush or something. That's the only logic I got in that one.
I don't know, because it seems like when he fires his gun, all the birds that fly away are in his location. So now people know where he's at.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone else has a different kind of theory and you're listening to this, feel free to message us. I'm kind of curious on what you guys' thoughts are, because that baffled me Max seems to know what it is, but
No, I
I'm
think
not
it's
really
to
too sure.
see if there's any movement, because at that point he's across the river and there's a bridge,
Right.
so he's trying to see if there's any movement, before, because once you go on the bridge, there's nowhere to go. You're locked in there. If someone's waiting for you on the other end to ambush you, you're not jumping in that cold water, so you're screwed. So he's just seeing if there's anything across the river to be worried about. Once you cross the bridge, that's it. You're funneled in.
Right.
From a strategic point of view.
I just feel like firing the gun, if someone wasn't paying attention now, is all of a sudden going to be like, oh, wait, hold on. Someone's firing a gun. Maybe I should go look at the bridge. I don't know. It just seems like a weird choice. But let's move on. All right. So Joel and Ellie reach the dam after they cross the bridge. And
it's been ho-hum. No danger.
Yeah, it's been a while. And this is now when Ellie kind of points out to Joel, maybe this is the river of death.
Yeah, because she mentioned it was very blue.
Right.
And, that's the dam was providing power.
Right.
So
right when
very astute.
Perfect timing as in the show, she points out that this could be the river of, river of death. Sure enough, people show up on horseback with guns pointed at them. And, the greatest dog sniffer in the world. Ugh. So it's kind of funny because in the beginning of the show, we see a dog react to someone that is infected, right? But
the neighbor's dog.
But that dog, when the person was clearly infected, the old lady that had Alzheimer's, he's just kind of looking at her, right? And then now the next thing that the dog wants to do is run away. Mm-hmm. So you think this dog was kind of trained at birth to rip apart anybody that's infected? Yeah. It seemed like they were pretty confident that this is way better than getting one of those devices that
I don't know, man.
Fedra was walking around with.
Well, at the airport in LAX, right, they sometimes, instead of going through security, you get the dog to walk by you and sniff for stuff.
I get that, but
it's one of those kind of situations. I mean, I think I would trust the scanner more than the gun, because as you see in this scene, Joel is scared out of his mind that they're going to
another panic attack. Yeah,
he's starting to panic. He's freezing up. Because they have Ellie take a couple steps back so the dog can sniff him. Right. He passes, but he's worried that the dog is gonna sniff the fungus on Ellie, and he doesn't do anything. He's just like literally frozen, and then Ellie ends up playing with the dog.
Yeah. But you pointed out that somehow Bill, who knew nobody, had one of these devices.
You tell me Jackson, these guys, couldn't get a device.
They're trying to be remote. They're trying to be self-efficient. Maybe they just don't believe in that kind of technology.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think it's just convenient. Because
it's convenient.
It's convenient for the story.
It's convenient to train a dog to do all that stuff. It's not convenient just to get the device.
No, it's convenient for the story.
Right.
Because on television, if they had a scanner, show's over. She's getting one in the eyes.
True.
So it's convenient for television only. After that, there's nothing else. So we could just accept it and move on.
I get that.
The real thing in the scene is Joel panicking, freezing.
Right.
And then once they get past the dog with Ellie, Joel is like, I'm just looking for my brother. And then we get the first lines from Ratina Wesley from True Blood, who's playing Maria. And she's, what's your name? She asks him, and she says, Joel. And then boom, fast forward, they're on horses where we don't know where those horses came from.
Yeah, everyone's
but Ellie and Joel are on horses.
I went back and skimmed it really fast. I didn't go into, fine detail here, but it looked like there was a single rider on every horse. So no one's doubling up on the horse. So they just happened to have 2 extra horses with them.
Very convenient.
Yeah, they just knew.
We just watched the episode, so maybe we'll catch somebody on the rewatch. But so you're introduced to Jackson, and they open the gates and they're walking in.
Yeah, and this is interesting because I'm pretty sure I am replaying the game right now, but I'm pretty sure you never see Jackson in the first game.
No, it's more they mention it.
They mention it, you never see it. Yeah, you actually most of the conversations that happen with Joel and Tommy happen on the dam. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that they decided in the show to build out this town, Jackson. Because
cool.
So that means it'll be there ready for season 2.
Hey,
that's not that big of a
slow down,
spoiler.
buddy.
That's not a spoiler.
Slow down, man. That is kind of a spoiler.
People think that's gonna blow up or something. Anyways, go. You're doing a great job. Sorry.
So now we get the emotional reunion. Joel on horseback sees Tommy building. They're working on something on the side of a building.
Yeah.
Contracting, and he yells at Tommy, and they have a really good brother hug. They hug it out. It's been a while.
Punch that guy so fast. Well,
you haven't seen your brother in months.
But at the same time, he thought his brother was, in trouble.
He actually mentions that in there. He jokingly says, "I'm here to save you."
Right? But it's like, but you'd be
Tommy's
a little pissed.
chilling.
You know what shit that Joel's had to go through to find a battery,
dude,
to get to Tommy,
and no battery. It ended up being a horse.
It ended up being a horse, but you didn't even need to get to him. At least, obviously you do now because you had Ellie. But the first whole thing that was happening over at the QZ in Boston.
Yeah.
Gotta get to my brother. He's not answering the radio. Gotta get a battery. Come on, Tess.
Tommy's kind of messed up for this, but we'll talk about this more.
Well, this is a Wednesday. I'm sorry.
We'll touch on it further in this episode. So now they're you see them in, like, I guess a giant cafeteria.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a nice barn house cafeteria, and Joel and Ellie are throwing down, like,
they haven't seen a meal in years.
There's pie on the table. Maria and Tommy are there with them. And we get the big reveal that Maria is now Maria Miller because her and Tommy got married.
That's right. Yeah, because Joel wants to have a conversation with Tommy. He's like, just have a family meeting.
Yes.
Oh, well, Joel, by the way, not only have I not been answering the radio calls or anything like that or letting you know that I'm safe, I also got married.
Yeah.
So that means, hold on a second, because he said he hadn't heard, I'm just trying to put the whole thing together in my head. The timeline. So he hadn't heard from his brother in 3 weeks, right?
Well, no, now it's been 3 months.
No. When they were in the QZ, it was like 3 weeks or something like that.
Yes.
So then the whole trip that they had from Boston, I feel like it was like 10 days. It was 10 days so I want to say they've been on the road for 3.5, almost 4 months now.
Yeah, well, it was
safe
fall.
Say, like
it was
around
fall.
there.
Now it's winter.
Right. So it's safe to say, right?
Yeah, because it was September when the show began. If you remember, it was the beginning of fall, and now it's Christmas. So there's your timeline from episode 1 to now, because it's Christmas in Jackson.
Right. So Tommy does mention at some point that, I know we should be saving this for Wednesday, but I can't get over this, that he hasn't been allowed to, like, no radio contact. So he's only been with them for maybe like 3 or 4 months. We'll give him 5 months. He's been with them for 5 months because he hasn't been able to use the radio for like 5 months.
No, it has to be longer than that because, because he said he joined up with them after the Fireflies. That's when they found him. So
yeah, but he was with
the timelines doesn't really add up clean. Because Joel has been mentioning that, he was with the Fireflies. He's not with the Fireflies anymore.
It's true.
So it's been longer than 4 months that he's been with this group of people. So the timeline doesn't add up.
But since he's been in Jackson, he hasn't been able to use the radio.
Yeah.
So did he just get to Jackson then?
Well, that's yeah, maybe because they said they found him after, and then maybe they brought him over to Jackson. It's really weird. This was why you would have needed a nice soft open to kind of tie these knots and these questions together. We'll do some research to see for Wednesday,
let's see
but
if we can fix
the timeline's a little dicey. You see what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah, no, totally.
Like Joel has been mentioning to Ellie that he was with the Fireflies. He has been with the Fireflies. There hasn't been communication for weeks, so he thinks he's in trouble. And now Tommy tells him, they found me after the Fireflies, and it was a radio tower. They were communicating. A radio tower in Wyoming, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because that's where they were heading. They never get to the radio tower because obviously Jackson's group catches them by the dam. So,
right.
Anyway, so now he finds the big reveal. They kind of now, Joel doesn't want to disclose the stuff with Maria there, obviously, right? So
it turns out like he doesn't want to disclose it with him at all, really.
Yeah, because in the next, Ellie is going to go take a shower. right?
Right. They leave the little cafeteria area.
Yeah. Oh, the little tour.
They get a small tour of the place. They kind of Joel and Ellie get the breakdown, the lowdown on how this community actually works, how they've been well hidden, how they don't use radios.
Yeah.
They don't really they don't advertise that they're there.
They're a commune.
Right. They're
AKA communists.
And yeah, that's a nice little jab at Tommy. Like, oh, you're the communist.
Yeah, because he's a military man.
Yeah, he didn't like that at all.
He didn't like that at all.
That was pretty funny.
He tried to go around. That was a good scene. Because Joel gives him that brother look like, yeah, you're a commie. You're living with commies.
Right. So Maria takes Ellie to go take a shower and stuff. So that way Tommy and Joel can have their brother heart-to-heart talk.
Yep.
And this is where you see them at the bar, and this is when I think that Joel's going to tell Tommy everything.
Yeah.
You know, what happened to Tess, why he's with Ellie, where he's taking her, why he's taking her, blah, blah, whatever.
Because that's the first lie. You just brought it up. Because Tommy asks, how's Tess? And that's the first thing he lies about. And that's when you realize he's not going to tell her anything. He's like, Tess is doing fine.
Right.
And then he gives, the whole story about Ellie's father is some big wig, Firefly, whatever.
Right.
So
it's interesting that he
why do you think he did that?
I don't know. It's interesting that he doesn't actually tell him the truth, but then still tries to get him to take her.
Well, he didn't get her to take her yet at the bar scene.
No, but he talks to her about it.
At the bar, they talk about bacon and.
Well, no, but he like, I guess not take her, but he asked, like, kind of like assuming that he's going to go with them.
Yes,
that's what happens.
Yes, come with them, and then because now he discloses that Maria's pregnant and he's going to be a father, and they have a little fight there, because I guess Tommy says that Joel is kind of shut off. It doesn't want to live, or live life. Right. Not death, but live life. He's just going through the motions. And Tommy's like, he's not ready to do that. He wants to live life to the fullest. And that kind of rubs Joel the wrong way. Right. Because of his loss, obviously, his daughter. Yeah. I mean, so it's tough.
I think it's that. I also think that Tommy really wasn't proud of the things that they did when they worked together.
Yeah.
And he mentions like how like that's just what they had to do to survive. And it's not that they had to do it, but it's the only thing that they knew how to do. They didn't know another way to live, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but I don't know.
Some soldiers, when they come back from war, they experience the same thing. And Tommy being a soldier, right? They go to war and they do certain things that, for survival, or it was an order. And then when they come back, and this is every war you can think of.
Sure.
Some soldiers come back and they feel a lot of guilt. There's probably a term for it, but it looks like Tommy wants to put all of that in the past and just move forward. Because like you said, it didn't sit well with him.
Yeah.
Doing what they did.
Yeah. Well, Joel also, it didn't sit well with him. Also, it doesn't sit well with Joel that Tommy's going to have a kid. Really?
Yeah.
It didn't seem like that because he didn't give him like the whole, hey, congratulations, bud, or anything like that.
Not at all.
Kind of, Tommy expresses his feelings on how he's scared about being a dad.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know if he's going to be a good dad. And then I think Joel's response is like, well, I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah, because you expect, when someone says that, you expect the other person to be like, you're going to be a great dad.
A little comforting, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be a great dad, dude.
I was thinking for a second when that conversation was happening, because remember when we talked in the beginning, the first episode, I know it was a ways back, but how I thought maybe there might have been something where Joel might have been holding a grudge against Tommy for his daughter dying.
Oh,
remember, like it was some reason I think it was because Tommy didn't show up in time, like some reason why he could have, like held Tommy responsible for the whole thing a little bit. And I thought maybe that might have went that route, but it doesn't look like it.
No. I think it's the other way. Tommy just resents Joel for the stuff that they did.
Yeah.
Post-apocalypse. And, I think Tommy has a little, whether you call it resentment or shame, because I know I have a little brother. If he found freaking Shangri-La during the apocalypse and he didn't let me in or tell me about it or tell me and Tess to come, hey, I found a sweet gig. Find a way to get to radio. Like, I found a sweet gig here.
Right.
Come. Like, I would be pissed off. And the only reason I think Tommy, kind of protected Jackson from Joel is he's ashamed of Joel and,
that he might bring some of that stuff with him.
Yeah, some of that stuff with him.
Yeah.
Like, it's foul.
No, it makes sense.
Don't tell me about bacon and you've been here living a comfortable life. And,
right.
I'm eating rat jerky with Tess.
I do want to go back and look at the time frame.
Yeah.
I want to figure out like how long he's actually been there.
We'll do that for
I don't
Wednesday.
think it's that long. I feel like it's only been like 5-6 months.
Yeah.
But anyways.
The dialogue makes it seem...
Yeah, I got to be missing something. All right, so the conversation doesn't go well. Joel leaves the bar, and then he has another panic attack.
Yeah.
And then while he's having this panic attack, he sees the back of a girl that kind of looks like his daughter.
Yep. Same hair.
Yep.
It's the hair.
And obviously not her.
The girl has a daughter himself.
Yeah.
And Joel's at the age, it's been 20 years. He might have been a grandfather at this point.
There you go.
Seen, his daughter with her daughter.
Yeah.
And, that hurts. That hurts.
Oh, yeah, I bet it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then the next scene we see Ellie. She just had a shower. She finds some clothes on the bed that's provided to her by Maria. And then she gets
a menstrual cup is the proper term.
Yeah. You looked it up. Go right ahead if you want to break it down.
It's a menstrual cup. They've been around since the 18th century.
New sponsor?
New sponsor? Man, that company is going to make a killing this, after
Are
this
they?
episode.
Is this really a need?
Well, maybe some women are looking at different alternative methods because on their website, they said they've been around since 2003 and the apocalypse in this show happened in 2003. So it makes sense that this product existed in this world. But after she finished taking her shower, she goes downstairs. She notices on the fireplace 2 names, Kevin and Sarah, and their date of birth and their death dates.
Yeah.
She assumes that they're both for Maria because Maria comes over and says, they have a little conversation and the value of the menstrual cup and let me do your hair pretty much, cut your hair. And while they're cutting the hair, Ellie's doing her little small talk, and she's like, only Kevin was her son.
Yep.
Who passed away. And the date was, I think, 2 or 3 days after the...
Date was 9/29/03 is the day. Go. Yep.
Yeah, because Joel's birthday is the 26th. So a couple of days after, right?
Yep.
And she then reveals that Sarah was Joel's daughter, and Joel hasn't mentioned Sarah to Ellie at all. And Ellie's she's kind of taken back by that. She didn't know that Joel, but then she also astutely realizes that's why Joel is the way he is.
Yeah. It kind of breaks it down for her in her head. And you can see things definitely clicked for her. Let's also not forget that the worldly advice that every single thing that Maria tells her as far as not trusting anybody.
That was big.
That was kind of big. I think we're going to pull that scene for Wednesday or that line, really dive into that. But she basically tells her that, when the people that you trust are the ones that are going to hurt you later on, to not confide to people. So she respects Ellie for not telling Maria every single thing about her. Which was, that was an interesting little take on that whole thing. A little
respecting, right?
Yeah.
Right there. And then she says we're going to go to the movies.
We're going to go to the movies. All right. So now it's movie night. Max, what movie are they watching?
It's a 1977 romantic comedy called The Goodbye Girl, starring Richard Dreyfuss, Marsha Mason, and Quinn Cummings. I mean, Richard Dreyfuss, I haven't heard that name in so long.
I love me some Richard Dreyfuss.
Right? And I've never heard of this movie.
I was in Jaws.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be doing Jaws. But anyway, for Still Holds Up. But I haven't heard of did you ever hear about this movie before?
No, and I want did we find out if there's a reason why they were playing this movie in the show?
That's for Wednesday. My problem is of all the movies that came out before 2003, this is what you found? Like you're digging deep for movies.
When did Independence Day come out? Wasn't it like 1996 or something like that?
There's so many other movies
they should be playing that
could have
movie.
been playing, dude. And they're playing it for like kids. I know it's a little romantic comedy about, but anyway. Ellie's not very amused by it. She's still like casing the joint. It looks like she's like casing the joint, looking around and noticing things.
I think she's like just in awe for the fact that because she hasn't seen anything like this. Remember, she was in military Fedra boot camp.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure they probably didn't have movie nights there. I could be wrong. Who knows? Next episode we might see some. We might see some of that. But I think she's just in awe, just kind of like looking and like just seeing how people interact with each other, how people aren't afraid, how people are just like genuinely nice. But then she sees Tommy leave. And so I think she goes to follow Tommy, which we find out later that she did follow Tommy.
Yeah.
And Tommy goes and finds Joel trying to fix his duct taped boot that he was duct taping up earlier. And Tommy comes in with a fresh pair of new boots. And then they have that deep conversation.
There's a lot of conversation.
There's a lot of conversation. But, Joel breaks it down for really who Ellie is.
Yeah, his real mission.
His real mission, what happened to Tess.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, he breaks down to Tommy why he really wants Tommy to take her now, because he's having panic attacks.
He's not sleeping.
He's not sleeping. He thinks he's too old to protect her, and he's scared
because his dreams are he can't remember the dreams, but when he wakes up, he feels like he's failed because he's failing his daughter every time. He's reliving that traumatic experience of not being able to protect his daughter.
But is he dreaming now still of his daughter, or is he now dreaming of Ellie?
It could be.
Yeah.
They're mirror images of each other in his mind.
Yeah.
I could, because he has an emotional connection now to Ellie in terms of caring and looking to protect her.
Right.
And in his mind, the best chance she has, he doesn't trust himself right now. And Joel has had bouts of fear throughout this season, this show. So his fear is that he's not going to be able to protect Ellie, like he couldn't protect his daughter,
or Tess.
Yeah. Right. So he's not doing too well in the protection racket.
Yeah.
So Tommy is younger. Tommy has a new scope on his rifle.
It's interesting that it went from I'm assuming you're coming with us to now there'd be the three of them, to then this conversation going, I need you to just take her.
Yeah, we go our separate ways.
Yeah,
he can't do it. He doesn't feel like he can't handle
the loss. Yeah.
Because he basically asks, is it a suicide mission to go there? And Tommy's like, no, you can make it.
Yeah.
You just be cautious.
Just do your thing.
And you handle it. But Joel can't. He just, and Tommy, actually, even before this conversation, Tommy, being the good guy that he is, he apologizes for the bar incident.
Oh, that's
where
right.
To me, it was Joel who's in the wrong, but Tommy, being such a good guy, quote unquote, because I still don't feel like he's a good guy for not telling his brother about Shangri-La.
It's messed up.
Like, I got a good thing going here. He apologizes and says he was in the wrong with the whole baby situation. I question that, but Tommy, being that good guy, he agrees to do it. He says, I'm going to take her out at dawn.
Yeah. And so then the next scene looks like Joel is going to go tell Ellie that Ellie has a new chaperone.
Yeah, chaperone.
And Joel finds Ellie reading the diary, and in the diary, she's just kind of she makes it like a brief comparison,
teenage life.
They just had to worry about what kind of dress they were going to wear to prom, blah blah, whatever.
Boys, girls, all that nonsense.
And then she, kind of throws it down and basically lets Joel know that she was eavesdropping in the conversation, and that she knows that Joel is there to tell her that that he's not taking her, and she is a little hurt. She's upset, but then she also throws Sarah at him. Yeah. In a way.
And that basically a non-starter for Joel. That ends this conversation.
But she's not wrong.
She's not wrong. She brings it up, and she mentions she's gone through loss too.
Yeah.
Like everybody, I think she said everybody she's in her life has either left her or has been killed.
Yeah.
Which like in this world, that should be everybody.
Right.
Most people lost people.
Yeah. Joel's kind of walking around like he's the
only guy who lost his daughter.
He's like, he's trademarked it. Like it's his own thing. Like no one else can walk around brooding like they've lost stuff.
Yeah.
And, he lost his daughter. It's a very, I'm sure it's, I don't even want to talk.
It's horrible.
I don't want to talk about that. Yeah. But so they both go through their own things. And I think that might've been the first time that maybe Joel kind of looked at Ellie's point of view. I think he's only been looking at his point of view as far as I'm afraid that she's going to die. I don't even want to be in this mission, blah, blah, whatever the case is. But then to actually look at her point of view going, hey, I've also lost people as well. Like, you're not the only one here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going through some pain. I'm going through some shit as well. I need you. And obviously it takes Joel one good night's sleep to kind of, realize all that, because
there's another dream. They have a couple of flashbacks in the episode.
But
it's well done.
He does end it. Does he actually say to her that you're not my daughter? Does he say that to her?
Possibly.
Oh Man, I don't remember. I don't want to rewind.
Something like that.
We'll talk about it on Wednesday. He does say something
we'll
like
do deeper dive into
Yeah.
this conversation because for Wednesday, because this is pulled right from the game, so we'll definitely be touching on this convo.
Yeah, he does. He throws something back at her. I can't remember what it is, but anyways, fast forward to the next day.
Tommy's there bright and early.
Tommy's there, picks her up, takes her.
Actually, as soon as he opens the door, she's already packed, ready to go.
Yeah,
like she's like, she's pissed off that Joel's not taking her.
I think she's hoping
just ready to move on.
There's that little small suspense that maybe it still is Joel that comes and gets her.
You think that's what it is? Well,
I think because you hear the footsteps and she's kind of like,
she was ready to go.
I kind of thought it was going to be Joel.
Man.
Anyway, so he takes her to the stables, but guess what? Joel's already there.
Yeah.
And he's already got a horse ready to go. And he says to Ellie, hey, I think you're entitled to choose. And then right when he's about to like give him the choice between him and Tommy, she just says you or whatever, throws her stuff at him and says, let's go.
Well, I still don't know why Tommy can't come along. Like,
I don't know
just
either.
For,
it seems like a smart move to take Tommy.
Definitely.
Yeah. But he doesn't take Tommy's gun.
With the new scope.
Man, those brothers do love their sniper rifles. That's for sure.
Bolt action
sniper rifles. That is for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So now we get like a small journey of we get to learn.
It's a week ride to go to Eastern Colorado.
They got there
University.
5 days.
Yeah. So they did pretty well.
Yeah. 5 days. So Joel teaches Ellie how to fire a rifle. Teaches her that he was a contractor, and then the rules of football.
Yeah, very important.
Yes, they learned a lot.
I would have missed football. I'm already going through withdrawal. This is the first Sunday without football, so I've been going through withdrawal already. I couldn't imagine 20 years without freaking football.
Just watch some hockey, dude.
There's no hockey either, man. It's apocalypse, man.
Where they're living, there could be hockey.
Well, maybe
it's possible. They could also
amateurs.
You could throw a rock, man, and play football. It doesn't matter what you got.
A rock.
Doesn't matter, dude. Anyways, so now they're at the University of Eastern Colorado, home of the Bighorn.
Yeah,
it's Max's favorite place.
No, it's a fake school, but it's from the game. It's for the show. Yeah, it's not a real university. People are gonna go look online to apply. It's not real. It's a mashup of all the major universities in Colorado. That's what it is, but it's not real. There's no admissions.
It's real in our hearts.
It's real in our hearts.
All right, so we can skim this scene pretty fast. So they go in, they find some monkeys.
A lot of monkeys.
Then they actually go into the building. They find a packing list.
There's no fireflies.
No fireflies anywhere to be seen. They go upstairs. They find out that, they think that they find a map that leads to Utah, Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City, Utah.
So that's where they think their next destination is going to be. They hear some voices outside. Guess what? There's 4 people out there.
With bats.
And it looks like they walk by the horse because Joel says it's go out the back. So that would imply that they're on the front, but then did they come into the back? I don't understand.
Yeah, we'll catch that on the rewatch.
It doesn't make I feel like
you might be right.
Their path should have crossed the horse at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe they did mention that there's a horse out there. I don't know. I couldn't really hear what they were saying. Deep dive on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Joel goes out there. And then Ellie, for some reason, is the worst lookout girl ever because Joel is taking
the dude is Batman. He creeps up on him.
They're they're a big distance away from the building. And Joel is like really making sure his rifle's packed in there.
They are going so slow. I'm sitting there watching and I'm like, yo, can they get on this horse any slower?
Yeah.
And then they let Batman creep up on him.
Yeah. So
literally with his bat in the hand.
Yeah. So the guy swings at Joel. Joel ducks or moves. The guy breaks the bat. They have a little tussle.
Joel snaps his neck.
Joel snaps the guy's neck, but before that happened, apparently the guy took the butt end of the bat and stabbed Joel with it.
Yeah.
So Joel, being the smart person that he is, in all of this vast knowledge of the 20 years that he's been, a survivalist, decides to pull it out, and blood starts seeping out.
Yeah. Don't they say don't pull it out until you're ready to, put pressure, seal the wound, all that stuff.
I would think because
then you got to pull it out right. Because what happens if you got some organs in there? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but from what I've seen in movies and TV shows, they're like whether it's an arrow or you get stabbed, don't pull it out until you're ready to handle it. Because if you pull it out, and you're gonna bleed out.
I don't know why, but I feel like there must have been some kind of a survivalist conversation between other people.
Yeah.
Like, hey, doctors are running a little thin here. Maybe get stabbed or something happens, maybe leave it in there for a little bit so you can get to a nice little safe area and kind of figure some shit out. I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird, but he pulls it out. they get on the horse, they ride off, and then at some point Joel passes out, falls off the horse. The end.
By train tracks.
By the train tracks, which will, I mean, a lot of stuff happened in this episode.
Yeah.
It played long. It did seem like it was an hour and a half long episode, but it was a brisk 50, 45 minutes.
It did play a little long. It seemed longer. And at the end, they play that Depeche Mode "Never Let Me Down Again," a piano version. They played that at the end with the in the credits. So they bring that song back around again. "Never Let Me Down Again." Yeah, that's the end of Kin.
I mean, overall, I think it was a good episode. I know we have our gripes, but we always have our
we'll have more
our little jabs at stupidity stuff that some soft writing. I don't know.
Let's not call it stupidity. Convenient for television. I like that
convenient for television. Okay, just something to move the needle forward, I guess. But other than that, I liked the. I mean, this one I think had a lot of character buildup for our main protagonist. Finally, it seemed like there was a lot of character buildup for people that were not going to be on the show anymore. Like you had your Bill and Frank episode where we got to see these characters, but then they ended up only being a one-time shot. Then the same thing with Sam and Henry, where we got to see these characters and kind of see their backstory, but it really didn't matter in the end because they're gone as well. Same thing with
all
Kathleen.
4 of those guys are.
But I would say all these characters
mirror things of Joel and Ellie. That's what they're there for,
right? But I think this time you actually got to see them, build in.
Mm-hmm.
I liked this episode just because it just built them up a little bit more, which is good. And other than that, if I had to give it a score, give it a.
Oh, we're scoring now?
I don't know. I mean, it's for right now. We could start doing scoring things, but I give it like an 8.
An 8? Okay.
I don't know.
I thought it was a solid 7, 8. Okay.
Ooh. I mean,
it's cool.
Yeah.
It's not as good as last week's episode, but it was good.
Yeah.
No gripes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I'll save those for Wednesday.
They all can't be 10s and 9s.
It was a good episode.
Some of them got to creep down a little bit lower, but overall, it was a good episode. And I look forward. Actually, I've already think of 4 or 5 scenes I'd like to pull to talk about on Wednesday.
Oh, for sure. There was deeper conversation.
Yeah.
In there, that's definitely worth diving in, especially between Joel and Tommy, Maria and Ellie. That was good to see. So that's cool.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening and helping support us. And if you if you're liking what you're hearing, send us a message. Let us know. Jump on that Patreon page. We'd appreciate it. Don't forget to check out our other show. Still holds up. Like I
rock
said,
and rolling there.
We got some new episodes coming out this week. Last week kind of fell off a little bit. We had a lot of stuff pop up out of nowhere, but we'll be back this week. 2 fresh episodes.
Well, we had the second part of Star Wars that came out.
Second part of Star Wars did come out last week.
Episode 1, 2, and 3, part 2.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. So we did have stuff going on.
I had a lot of fun doing the Star Wars ones, so you know. We got the Breakfast Club coming up.
Yeah, Breakfast Club, and what was the other one?
True Romance.
The
first Quentin Tarantino. That's
unofficial.
It's unofficial. He wrote it. I love it though.
But next week we get to finally see the night Ellie got bit.
Yeah, that means I got to play later.
Yeah, so we're gonna be introduced to Riley, played by Storm Reed. It looks pretty awesome. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah. Well,
and then there's a glimpse of Fedra School, so it's gonna be great seeing that on television adaptation to see how Fedra's raising these children. Because throughout this episode, Ellie was looked like she was raised by wolves. She was a freaking animal.
Yeah.
The way she talks, even Marlon Graham Greene was like, "Who is this psycho?" The way she's just disrespectful, not listening to Joel, saying whatever is on her freaking mind.
I would love an episode just dedicated to them. And just call the episode "The Cabin," and they never leave the cabin. And it's just all the stuff that just wanders up to them and shit.
You know what would have been cool? 20 years when they were younger.
Yeah,
to see them. This is 20 years later. They've been up there for a while.
They were there before.
That could be a nice little mini series there. Anyway.
Yeah, man. We could do that one after the QZ and the KC.
I'm working on that graphic. No,
I want it. I want it. All right. Thanks again, everybody, for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Yep.
Music composed by Kyle Torme. Additional bed music composed by Jason Zaffrey. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Last of Us, a Rot Your Brain podcast. Subscribe to The Last of Us podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Last of Us. Follow us on Twitter at rot_yourbrain and support Rot Your Brain Media and its podcast by being a part of this exciting new and growing community. Visit patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.